Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for spending a little bit of your week with me as this is the Midweek Blitz.
He's going to scramble to the left side. Mahomes, step and go run. Still on his feet inside the 5. Mahomes is into the end zone. Touchdown.
The Midweek Blitz is where we discuss every Chiefs storyline in between games. Of course, we do the post-game show. Make sure you like and subscribe to watch that every single week. And this week, boy, do we have some massive news for the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh my God. I haven't been this fired up for a very long time. We'll get to that news in just a second. We'll start with it. But also, there's a narrative about the 49ers game that just happened. You know, the one that made the Chiefs 6-0. There's a narrative going around about that game that is absolute BS, and it's driving me crazy. We'll get to that here in a few minutes, but we have got to start with some of the biggest news the Chiefs have had this entire year. DeAndre Hopkins, welcome to Kansas City, baby. Let's go. The Chiefs trade for DeAndre Hopkins, a 5th-round pick, conditional, could be a 4th round, whatever. That's peanuts for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. Look, the Titans were going nowhere. They're 1-5. They have Will Levis at quarterback. There's nothing going on for the Tennessee Titans. So they're selling. So they get a C. They get a C grade on this because they're just selling. They're like a Major League Baseball team at the deadline that knows they aren't going anywhere. The Chiefs get an A++++. They get the Ralphie from A Christmas Story. A+++++++. Because the dire need the Chiefs have for a wide receiver right now is off the charts. Juju got hurt. He's nursing a hamstring. Hollywood Brown's gone until the playoffs. Rashee Rice is gone for the entire year. Right now we're rocking with McCole Hardman, Xavier Worthy, and Justin Watson. No offense to those guys, but they're not number one wide receivers. The Chiefs need desperately a number one wide receiver, and they went and they got him. And I'm telling you right now, I have not been this excited for a player coming to Kansas City in such a long time. I am a huge believer that DeAndre Hopkins has so much left in his tank that we haven't seen because he's been with the Tennessee Titans for the last 2 years. You know how hard it is to be good when Will Levis is your quarterback? There's this trash out there saying that, well, DeAndre Hopkins is washed. He's not any good. Have you looked at his numbers? If I threw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, he would probably have similar numbers to what he has now. That's what happens when you're a wide receiver with a quarterback who's not good enough. Could you imagine me throwing to DeAndre? That's what he's had to deal with. I bet I could find a kid at Shawnee Mission East who could play better than Will Levis. I bet I could. And DeAndre's had to deal with that now for years, 2 years. So this idea that DeAndre Hopkins is washed because of his numbers just isn't true. We see it time and time again throughout the NFL. Randy Moss, considered washed in Oakland, goes to New England, career resurrects. Antonio Brown, considered washed, goes to Tampa Bay for a year, career resurrects until, the brain got the best of him and he quit. But for that 1 year, Antonio Brown was the man. Steve Smith left to go to Baltimore. Everyone thought he was washed. He played lights out. Even with the Chiefs, there's history here. Andre Bad Moon Rison came to the Kansas City Chiefs in 1997 and was considered washed. He hadn't been to the Pro Bowl or really had a good season for 4 years. And since leaving Atlanta, he'd bounced around to Green Bay, Jacksonville. And when he was in his early 30s, like DeAndre Hopkins, and came to Kansas City, he was seen as washed. Well, not only did Andre Rison get over 1,000 yards receiving and go back to the Pro Bowl that year, he reinvented himself as the Spider-Man. I had that photo in my room, too, when I was a kid. Spider-Man Rising. That was the man. And he was considered washed when he came to Kansas City. So this happens all the time with wide receivers who are forced to play with these quarterbacks who flat out aren't good enough. So what DeAndre Hopkins could be in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, he could be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. We could see a resurrection for the career of DeAndre Hopkins. And he understands how incredible of an opportunity he's been given by this organization. How incredible of an opportunity. The guy was 1-5 yesterday, guys. Like, think about that. DeAndre Hopkins was 1-5. Now he's 6-0. It's a whole different plan for him. It's a whole different game. And I'm so fired up for what he can bring to the table, man. I'm so fired up that I was scrolling on Instagram today, and I saw that 810 WHB, a radio station in Kansas City, had released a video. They put a video out of DeAndre Hopkins running a drill in practice. This is what it looks like. This is the video. I'm so fired up that when I saw that video, my immediate reaction was, fuck yeah! I was so pumped. It's like a high school level little receiver drill. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't matter. DeAndre Hopkins in a Chiefs jersey? Whew, Pepper D's new shorts, man. I'm already all over it. So this guy, I think, has so much that he brings to the table, from getting into space, his route running ability, his jump ball ability, the adjustment on the back shoulder throws. Everything that Patrick Mahomes does well fits with DeAndre Hopkins' game. So there's no reason to believe that DeAndre Hopkins wouldn't have a career resurrection in Kansas City, and the Chiefs will explode offensively and shut up all the haters that keep bringing up the Mahomes touchdown interception ratio like it matters, because what really matters is 6-0. Now, DeAndre Hopkins was talking to the media with the presser, and we've talked about this a bit, but I think it's important to hear it from DeAndre Hopkins himself. He hasn't played meaningful football in a while.
It means a lot. It takes your game to a different level. It takes your focus, your drive, knowing that you're playing for something. It takes your game to a different level. I haven't played meaningful football in a couple years since, we probably started 8-0 in Arizona. So, it takes your game to a different level.
Now, I know a lot of people don't empathize with that because, well, it's hard to empathize with professional athletes. They're playing games that we would love to play, right? I'd love to play football for a living. Are you kidding me? I'm not good enough, so I don't. But then you see somebody who is, and he goes, I haven't played meaningful football. But if you really put yourself in his shoes and, take out the whole personal bitterness of not being a star NFL wide receiver, it must be really hard. I mean, getting up early every morning, running, going to the weight room, running routes, going to practice, even in the off season, just pushing your body to its limit, pushing yourself to the brink every day so you can get yourself ready to play an NFL season. And you play for the Titans. That's got to be tough, man. That's hard. You're 1-5. It's hard when you go through work. If you work really hard, like say you're a really hard worker, you're a really locked in worker, and you work for a company that can't be successful. No matter how hard you work, no matter all the time that you put in, everything you do, it doesn't matter. You just don't have the pieces. That's playing for the Tennessee Titans. That's what DeAndre Hopkins has had to deal with for 2 years. So I think it's very understandable that he's going to have a motivation spike. And if he can get on Mahomes' page fast, that focus is going to be crazy, man. Focus and motivation for DeAndre Hopkins is about to go through the roof. And the beneficiary of that is Chiefs effing Kingdom. Let's go. God, that's such good news. I'm so fired up about it. Oh, one more thing before we move on from Hopkins, and we'll touch on other things that have to do with Hopkins throughout the show. But one more thing from him before we move on. He chose, remember, he wore number 10 in Tennessee. Isaiah Pacheco wears number 10 in Kansas City. DeAndre Hopkins picked number 8. Why? Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant, one of my favorite athletes of all time. So I knew if I ever got the chance to wear number 8, just like when I picked number 10, Messi was my favorite. Soccer player, underdog, felt like me at the time coming out of college. And, Kobe, number 8 is a special number.
Kobe Bryant is such an incredible piece of culture for the world. When he died in 2020, it was one of the most devastating sports losses, I think, for a lot of people, myself included, who grew up kind of loving sports as a kid in that late 90s era and early 2000s. Like, we were big Kobe guys. But I think the silver lining that came from it, now I know there's never a good thing that came from it. I always want to find a silver lining. The amount of videos and old interviews of Kobe Bryant's that became prominent after his death, where he really broke down the Mamba mentality in a world that's kind of losing its Mamba mentality, right? People are getting lazier. People don't care as much. There's a lot of other stuff to do. The internet exists. having a guy that's that focused that you can drive inspiration from, that's been a big silver lining of that people surfaced those videos after his death. And myself, and it appears DeAndre Hopkins as well, watched those videos closely and took so much from the energy and inspiration that Kobe Bryant was. And I'm so fired up that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be wearing that beautiful number 8 as a Kansas City Chief. That's awesome. More about Hopkins throughout the show. I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited to share it with you guys. It's awesome. But also the Chiefs, they did prove once again that they are the classiest organization in the NFL. They are. The Chiefs are the top class organization. I'll tell you why here in just a few minutes. But first, there's a narrative about this game against the 49ers that's driving me absolutely up a wall, and I can't get over it. The play where Patrick Mahomes had the long run, and people are saying he's manipulating the rules, he's taking advantage of the rules, stopping before he went out of bounds to cut up field. Watch the play. Kareem Hunt blocks 53 out of bounds, creating a lane so Patrick Mahomes can cut up field, and he can get the biggest run of his career. And people say he's manipulating the rules instead of giving Kareem Hunt the credit that he deserves for a phenomenal block downfield, transitioning from a pass catcher to a blocker beautifully. Instead of giving Kareem Hunt credit, the entire NFL media wants to point at Patrick Mahomes and say he's abusing the rules. That's ridiculous. Have you seen these guys too? These people on the internet that are making these videos? They all sound like this. Well, Patrick Mahomes actually abused the rules because when he ran to the sideline, he stopped and they were expecting him to not stop. So he's abused. That's you. That's how you sound. I'd hate myself too. I'd hate Patrick Mahomes too if I sounded like that. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I'd have a very hard time. I mean, I wouldn't go to extremes, but I'd have a very hard time. That's how all of you sound. Just absolute ignoramuses. Taking down Patrick Mahomes, a guy that's done nothing but be a great football player and a great ambassador to the game, and all of you hate him because he's too good. That's what this is. He's too strong. He makes big plays in big moments, and your team's quarterback doesn't. That's why you don't like Patrick Mahomes. You can talk about the refs or him abusing the rules, but in the end, the reason you don't like Patrick Mahomes is because Patrick Mahomes wins. And that's who he is. That's who he's always been. He's a winner. Since coming to Kansas City, he put up big numbers. When he had Tyreek Hill and a bunch of, he put up big numbers. Now he doesn't put up as big of numbers, but he knows he has the best defense in the NFL. So his job is to keep drives going. And the Chiefs do that. We'll discuss later a great stat about the Chiefs going into this game against the Raiders that reflects that entirely. But it drives me crazy that the Chiefs hate. I'm so sick of the Chiefs hate. The Chiefs haven't done anything wrong, guys. They're just winning games. Yet you have all these clowns, these pathetic losers who just want to cut the Chiefs down. It makes no sense to me. I don't like it. I don't like it. Not one bit, not one iota. I don't like it. I will say this one more thing before we move on from this, because that was just a little rant. It's been pent up. It's bothering me. That block from Kareem Hunt was fantastic. And it's not something that anyone talked about on either side enough. Kudos to Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce on his New Heights podcast pointed this out. And I was like, thank you. Somebody's watching film. Somebody's paying attention to the game instead of just going, but the Chiefs are cheating. That's how you guys sound. You sound stupid. And you keep doing it every week. And the thing is, what's even worse, I swear I'm going to move on from this after a second. I swear. I'm going too long on this. But I promised you this. The people doing it aren't the only problem. The Patrick Mahomes people aren't the only problem. The problem is those of you who are liking and commenting and sharing those posts. What's wrong with you? Stop doing it. Stop doing it. The Chiefs slander is getting under my skin. It's driving me a little nuts. So we're going to move on from it, but I'm telling you right now, I will take no more slander on the Chiefs. I'll be here every week. Twice a week, we do a show here. And every week, I will come here and I will defend the crap that's thrown out there against the Chiefs, the falsehoods. They're just infuriating. Clear penalties, and people were like, well, they only called it because of the Chiefs. No, they called it because the defender for the Bengals tomahawked him on the head. That's why they called it. What in the hell world do we live in, man? Okay. The NFL has a major problem, and they need a solution. I think I have it for them. We'll get to that here in just a bit. But first, the Chiefs prove once again that they are the classiest organization in the NFL. And do you know why? Because they placed Skyy Moore on injured reserve this week. A core injury is what it was called. But really what it is, Skyy Moore is the 2024 version of Kadarius Toney. It ain't working out. And it's time. He's become a liability. You can't trust him to catch simple passes. Look, I understand. I know what it's like to have your confidence broken. I do. I understand. It sucks. It really sucks. Usually you got to go get coaching. You have to work with people. You have to do things to build your confidence back up. And I don't know if Skyy Moore is not doing those things or if he's doing those things with the wrong people, but his confidence is shot. It's very easy to sit here and be like, well, Skyy Moore's just not a very good football player. Look at him. If Skyy Moore could catch the ball, if he could have caught punts when he was a rookie. Remember Skyy's rookie year? Every punt return was a cardiac arrest. He could not, for the life of him, catch that ball. And then if he catches the ball in the game, he usually does a pretty good job. His inability to catch the ball has been his issue from the very beginning. And we saw his confidence as a rookie go. Phew. So it'd be very easy for me to sit here and say, well, Skyy Moore is just not a very good football player. The reason the Chiefs have stayed with him, I think, is that they know his confidence is just gone. So if they thought, well, we could get his confidence back, and if we get Skyy Moore's confidence back, well, then he could be a damn good football player. We could do really good things with Skyy Moore. Time ran out. That's what this is. That's what the move to the IR is for Skyy Moore. That's what the move is for the team. Time ran out on Skyy Moore. They wanted him to get his confidence back and to become a great football player, and damn it, I think in a lot of ways he might have been able to do it. Like Skyy Moore might have been able to pull off a huge time game. He is just that good of a player when he can catch the ball, but he can't. And they've waited long enough. So Skyy Moore is the 2024 version of Kadarius Toney, and hats off to the Chiefs for being the classiest organization in the NFL because they could have cut him. They could have sent him on the waiver wire. They could have done a lot of things, but they put him on IR to save a little face, help him maybe get a job next year somewhere else. There's a lot of ways you can handle this, and the Chiefs handled it in the classy way, the respectful way, where they appreciate what Skyy Moore has attempted to do there. Because I don't think Skyy Moore didn't work hard. I don't think Skyy Moore didn't push himself. I think Skyy Moore cracked his confidence in his rookie year and then never really got it back. And we had hopes after his touchdown catch, his first ever touchdown in the Super Bowl in 2022 season against the Eagles. It didn't come back. Maybe he didn't put in the time. I don't know. But I think the Chiefs would have cut him earlier if he wasn't trying. You know what I mean? So Skyy Moore, done in a respectful way. I hope things work out for him. I really do. I hope he goes somewhere else and he can find at least an ability to get a paycheck on a consistent basis. But, you know, his time in Kansas City is up. This is how it is, man. All right, now we have monster news for the Chiefs. Monster news potentially on the horizon that's very exciting. We'll get to that here in just a bit. But first, the NFL has a major, major problem. And I think I might have a solution because their major issue, injuries. We see so many injuries in the NFL. It's killing the product. It really is. Like, I know it's still good and people still enjoy it, but, you know, a big part of the NFL is fantasy football. And I know some people are, oh, I don't care what. it's a big deal. It's a big part of the money-making machine that is the NFL. Fantasy football was a big part of what elevated the NFL in the 90s over baseball, because baseball was number one, and then the NFL took it over. Fantasy football and Madden were both huge parts of that. Madden has sucked for years. They had like one good game in the last 15 years. And then Madden 19. Or maybe it was Madden. I think it was Madden 19 or Madden 20. One of those two. They in that realm, I think it was Madden 19. The one with Mahomes on the cover, solid game. Of course, I like the one with Mahomes on the cover. What else? What else could I possibly like? But the issue with the injuries is now fantasy football is going to take a monster hit. I'm in multiple leagues. People are talking about disbanding both leagues. It's not fun. All the stars that you draft get injured. I drafted first overall in my league this year. Christian McCaffrey, like everyone else, which means everybody in my league got to pick twice before I got to pick once. Essentially, that's what that means, because Christian McCaffrey hasn't touched the field all year, and if they had been honest with us from the very beginning, then we would have known that Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to touch the field all year. So teams are lying about injuries, and there's tons of them. Every team is just ransacked with injuries. So how do you fix it? Like this, it's a massive problem for the NFL. I don't think anyone could deny that or say, oh, no, it's not a big deal. No, like it's a massive problem. What's weird about this is that, like, if you go back to 2006, we had players headhunting. And I mean, guys like Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu and Brian Dawkins just knocking your block off, dude. Boom, they were even like Scud missiles, head first, boom. We didn't have the injuries that we have now. Why is that? It's so weird. They've gone so far to make this game a lot like flag football, sometimes even like touch football, and it's a little bit annoying. But why are there so many injuries? What is going on? Is it preseason? Is the shortened preseason where none of the stars play, is that the difference? Because going back to 2006, where there were less injuries, but everybody was headhunting, players played 3 preseason games at least. Starters played at least 3 preseason games, and they played a lot of it. Then the new CBA happened, and ever since the new CBA, which was what, 2011-ish? Ever since the new CBA, these guys don't have to really do much. And then they added a game, took away a preseason. Like, what are they supposed to do? How do you get ready for the season to take hits when you're not taking any hits at half speed? You're just go out there after training all off season, then just get leveled by somebody. Yeah, it's probably a little difficult. You're also not used to game speed. There's not a buildup, because preseason isn't game speed. When you watch like the first, and it stinks. It's a weird. Hollywood Brown got hurt during preseason, so maybe I'm wrong. It's just a theory. I don't know exactly why the NFL has so many injuries, not just this year, but it feels like it's increasing every year. Maybe it's the preseason. Maybe it's body fat. Hear me out on this. I know this is sounding weird when I say body fat. These guys look like cyborgs now. They have no body fat on them. They work out with these trainers and these nutritionists. And we got Patrick Mahomes with his dad bod leveling these guys. You know what I'm saying? Mustafa looks like a bodybuilder, and Mahomes looks like a dad in Blue Springs. And he ran him over. Maybe it's the body fat. Maybe that's why everybody's getting injured in the NFL, because they don't have enough on them anymore. They have all these nutritionists and these trainers, and they get so tight and they have such low body fat that they can't absorb hits. Maybe that's why everybody's so injured. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know why everything happens. But I know it's a massive problem for the NFL, and one solution could be have meat a little bit more. Get a little more meat on the bones, man. Maybe. Look, I'll tell you this. If you're a kid and you want to play quarterback in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes is the peak physical condition of quarterback in the NFL. Bowling people over. There's something to it. I really think there's something to it. Meanwhile, you have guys who are more in better physical shape, at least by our definition of what better physical shape is, and they're getting injured all the time. Could be, man. I don't know. Now, we have one stat getting overlooked a little bit that will help the Chiefs this Sunday against the Raiders. Can't wait for that game. Big rematch for the Raiders. I have a fun story to tell about that from last year. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, monster news. potentially monstrous news for the Chiefs coming out. Multiple reports saying that on the horizon, we could see Hollywood Brown back in Kansas City, healthy to play, before the playoffs even. Multiple reports going around. And here's the nice thing about that. Even if, let's say, Hollywood Brown can only come back for the playoffs, he has everything in place to hit the ground running. It's a shoulder injury. And I've had his exact shoulder injury. It's a labrum tear. And I've had that surgery. Now, taking hits will be a problem. However, he's at a point now. How long has it been? He got it in preseason. That was August. He's getting to a point within the next 3-4 weeks where he will be able to go run and catch. He won't be able to take hits for another few months, but he'll be able to run and catch. And if you can go do that, right? You can go do that and you can stay in shape. You can get your timing with Patrick Mahomes in practice. Just make sure nobody hits him. Then you could have a situation where Hollywood Brown comes back for the playoffs. Now you have DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce. Travis is going to eat if that's the situation. He's going to get so many targets. He's going to have a big-time Travis Kelce vintage playoff run. That's what Travis does sometimes, man. He gets these slow starts. He shows up maybe a little out of shape. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know exactly what his prime shape is. I don't know what it means. I don't know what the prime Travis Kelce shape is. I don't know his trainer. But let's say just for argument's sake, he comes in a little bit out of shape, but then when we get to playoff time, he hits a different gear. That's what makes Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce different from everybody else. When it comes to playoff time, there's a reason they have more touchdowns connections than any other connection in history in the postseason, because they are postseason players, man. I love big-time postseason players. Travis Kelce, if Hollywood Brown comes back, DeAndre Hopkins and Xavier Worthy both stay healthy, 87's going to go crazy in the postseason. I can't wait for it. Now, what else? Now, if that's the whole thing. That was all I had. Yeah. But conceivably, I want to reiterate this real quick. Conceivably, Hollywood Brown could be just as good as if he played the entire season, maybe even better. I remember Hollywood Brown tweeted this a couple weeks ago, that if he can come back for the playoffs, he'll have fresh legs. All these other guys have played 17, 18 games in the season. He can come back having fresh legs, being fully ready to go, and hitting a different gear, going deep, which could torch opposing cornerbacks that have the wear and tear of a full season on them. I'm just saying, conceivably, he could hit the ground running, and that could happen. Now, I'm going to wrap this up here on the midweek blitz with a stat that it's getting a little bit overlooked, but it will really help the Chiefs this Sunday, and I think it's been a big reason why they've won. Did you know the Chiefs are top 5 in third down conversion in the NFL? That's a huge deal for a few reasons. It keeps your team on the field. Yeah, they might not be scoring the amount of touchdowns that we want. We might not be getting the explosive plays that we expected with this team when it started, but everybody got injured. What do you want? Everybody got hurt. We can't do it all the time, man. So here's what you do. You go and you get your first downs, keep the ball moving, keep the defense rested. That is one of the number one things the Chiefs offense has done, and it's something that no one talks about, I think because maybe Patrick Mahomes just doesn't get the credit that he deserves. People want to look at stats and everything else. This guy finds a way to convert third downs into first downs. That is a huge deal when you're a quarterback in the NFL. You have to make a lot of stuff happen on third down to keep that thing moving. It's demoralizing to the opposing defense. It keeps your defense on the sideline. It keeps the time of possession in your favor. This will be huge for the Chiefs against the Raiders because they need to avenge that heartbreaking Christmas Day loss that sucked the soul out of my body. Now, they haven't lost again since then. They've been on a nonstop winning streak since that Christmas Day game. But I was in Kansas City with my dad watching that game. We were at Maloney's in Overland Park. If you remember that game, it was a meltdown. It was a meltdown game. And we were walking out of that place after the loss going, I don't know about this team anymore. But what that game did is it snapped the Chiefs back into it. Suddenly, they started holding each other accountable again, and they haven't lost since. But there's still just a little stick in my craw. Antonio Pierce has his job because of Christmas Day last year. To me, that's an undeniable fact. We'll call it an opinion because technically it is, but that's an undeniable fact in my mind. Antonio Pierce has his job as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Still want to call him Oakland, but the Las Vegas Raiders. He has that job because he beat the Chiefs on Christmas Day. So it's very important that when the Chiefs go back to Las Vegas, the place where they won the Super Bowl, still my favorite thing in the world is the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl in the Raiders Stadium while John Elway walks the Lombardi Trophy up to them. God, I have never smoked crack, but it can't be as good as that feeling was. Now, what a weird thing to say. Sorry. What a weird way to play it. But okay, yeah, I mean, it's still true. I stand behind it. But I want the Chiefs to crush them, to break their soul in half, and rip the heart of every Raiders fan right out of their chest. I don't even want a blowout. I want it to be close. I want a controversial call at the end. No, I'm just kidding. Chiefs by 100 because that's what I always want it to be. Every game makes my heart skip a beat. I just want an easy 47-10 win. Will that happen? Probably not. The Raiders are scrappy. It's a division opponent. I would expect a closer game. But if that happens, I expect the Chiefs to come out on top. 7-0 coming at you. Make sure you check in for the post-game show. We'll do it right after the Chiefs hopefully beat the Raiders. This has been Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano. This is the Midweek Blitz, and thank you so much for spending a little bit of your week with me. Enjoy the game.